Okay, hello YouTube. YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I'm gonna talk to this camera like it's my best friend right now. Tired, can you tell? Um, I have two boys, and they both have different fathers, and I have terrible track record with men, but that's not important. When I was about 20, I moved to Syracuse, New York. Um, just up and moved, and I met my oldest son's father. His name is Frank, and Keyshawn was born March the 8th, 2010. He missed the birth. Uh, our relationship started pretty well, but we started to argue thereafter, and it became like a domestic violence situation. We were beating each other up pretty much. He was we were fighting. We were fist fighting each other. He was drinking. He was very controlling. It was just kind of like one of those situations. So I felt like it would be best for me to go back home. Now, um, during my pregnancy, I was living with my parents. My parents were the sole caretakers of me while I was pregnant, and me and Frank fought the entire time over the phone. Obviously, we have like a bad history, but now, after I came back to Florida, I didn't tell him that I was coming back to Florida. So he was very, very bitter about that because I didn't tell him. He ended up moving in with a family named the Shaw family, and they allowed him to live there because they were really, really sweet people. They were like 5 minutes away from my parents' house. And Frank made some really, really bad decisions, like some really, really terrible decisions. And we argued a lot. Now, one thing that I did promise him, I told him that I would do, and I know that I messed up in this part of our relationship, is I told him that if he got his own place, I would have no problem with letting Keyshawn spend time with him or come and see him, because at the time he was living with somebody else, sleeping on their floor. I didn't know them very well. Not saying that they were bad people, but I didn't know them very well. And I wasn't sure if he was actually going to stay in the state of Florida, because he just seemed like he didn't want to. He seemed like he wanted to go back to New York, and that's something that I didn't want to do. And I just, you know, that intuition you get as a woman where you just know that a nigga is not necessarily going to do what you think he's going to do. I told him to get a place, and soon thereafter, I got a call from the people that he was living with, and in casual conversation, they told me that he moved to an efficiency that was on Memorial Boulevard. Now, I don't have a car. I'm using my parents' car. If I want to go somewhere, I need to put gas in it. You know what I'm saying? And the situation that we were in, Frank was not financially able to really do anything for me. He couldn't help me get to the doctor. I mean, like, he wasn't really able to do anything because he just up and left Syracuse without being prepared when he came down here, just because he wanted to be down here. But I commend him for that. I think that was great that he did everything that he could so he could get to the state of Florida because he wanted to be a part of his son's life. Not pissed off at him about that at all. I think that's great. But when he got this efficiency, and efficiency is like a one room thing for one person. It's not necessarily where you want to be with an infant, and it's not necessarily where I wanted my son to be. And on top of that, it was an efficiency on Memorial Boulevard where he was staying at. They found a cop that had been beaten and raped and was half dressed, and she was like literally in the same apartment or efficiency that he was in. So I didn't want the baby to be there. I didn't want him to be there either. I said, you know, if you want to see the baby, let's just go back to Pastor Shaw's house, and or let's meet somewhere. But I don't feel comfortable with that. And also, I felt like he was going to leave. So Soon after we had that conversation, in that conversation we argued, and then soon after we had that conversation, he left. he left. He left. He went back to New York, and he didn't tell me. And so Keyshawn got sick. We were in the hospital. I tried to get a hold of him. His phone, he had changed his number. And then when I did manage to get a hold of him, the first thing that he said was, "Why didn't you call me?" So that is the last time. The last time that I went to the Shaw's house, that was the last time I saw Frank. And that was the last time Keyshawn saw Frank. Actually, Keyshawn hasn't even seen Frank because his eyes were still developing the last time Frank was in the state of Florida. He's going to be 4, March the 8th of next year. But every now and then, I'll get a message from him on Facebook, or I'll get a call from him. This was like 2 years ago, though, that he would do this. And he would say, "I want to spend time with my son." And he was in another state. He wasn't even in New York. He wouldn't tell me where he was. He wouldn't give me an address. But he wanted me to send Keyshawn to him, or him just come and pick up Keyshawn and just leave, My patience was so completely thin with him at that point, because I felt like, now that you left, there's really no reason for me to accommodate you. You don't call, you don't check on him, you don't pay child support. And I mean, he did pay child support, but he's on and off with it. Sometimes he'll pay. He paid for a little while, year before last, and then this year he paid a little bit for a couple months. What are you gonna do? This isn't about money, though. This isn't about child support. This isn't about any of that. This is about a message that I received from his sister 2 months ago. I was taking a CNA class. It was the morning time, and I was very, very pregnant. It was the first day of my CNA class, and I was sitting outside of the laundromat here in Plant City using their Wi-Fi because I'm bad like that. But I got a message, and it was an apology message from his sister, because the last time that we spoke, we got off on a really, really bad foot because I said some really horrible things about him on Facebook. Public platform. Ooh. Anyways, she told me that she had another baby and that she wanted Keyshawn to meet his cousin, which I was totally like, oh yeah, cool. So I'm having another baby too. I know exactly where you at with it. So, and then after she says that she wants Keyshawn to meet his cousin, she throws in the fact that Frank is going to be involved. And I'm like, wow. I didn't even know that he wanted to see Keyshawn because I haven't heard from him in so long. She's like, oh, Frank hasn't seen Keyshawn. I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, no, girl, I haven't seen him in years. I haven't heard from him in years, So I tell her, if Frank is going to be a part of it, then he needs to call me. And how is this going to work? Are you expecting me to take Keyshawn somewhere, or come, be here? Are you going to come here? Because he's my son. I've been taking care of him for years, and I feel like I don't need to accommodate anybody. If anybody wants to see Keyshawn, then they need to come to me. I just feel that way. So, Frank ended up writing me, and I told him if he wanted to see Keyshawn, that's great. He'd come here and see Keyshawn. Right? And this is an argument that we've been having for years and years and years and years and years and years. I left. I know he's still bitter with me because I left, and I did not tell him that I left. But he takes the fact that I left as justification for him to leave the state of Florida and leave me and Keyshawn here in the state of Florida. He does not call. He does not write. He does not text. I have not seen him. I don't know where he's at. I don't know what he's doing. I know nothing about him. I don't know where he lives. I know nothing about his life. He's been completely out of the picture for 2.5 years. He's been completely out of the picture. I wrote him a message after I told him to come and visit. He says, okay, right? I told him, I said, you never wrote me back. Are you going to come and visit? Because I actually would like for him to come and visit and see Keyshawn, because I want Keyshawn to know his father. I'm not wretched. You know, I'm not wretched. I want Keyshawn to know his father. But he writes me this message, repeating verbatim a post that I made a couple weeks ago about how it's wrong, and I stand by this, it's wrong. If you don't like your baby's father, that's too bad. You shouldn't have laid down with him, and you shouldn't have had sex with him. You have a baby now, and he needs to be a part of that child's life. And if he's willing to financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, be there for that child and raise that child and co-parent that child with you, you should let him do it. You cannot keep the baby from the father because you don't like him. Now, Frank truly feels that I have purposefully kept Keyshawn away from him so he cannot be a father. He blames me for him not being able to be a father. Now, Keyshawn is so much older. I don't know if I'm crazy. Y'all can tell me y'all think that I'm crazy, but I feel like this is like the last straw, but because it's been so long, it can actually be worked out if we talk to each other. So I called him because he got a little Frank Swear YouTube, yeah, woo woo. I'm from Jersey. You know, he's got like a YouTube. So I called him, you know what I'm saying, because his number's down there, you know. I called him and I left him a message. I said, we haven't spoken to each other in years, and we need to go ahead and talk now, because I feel like I'm in a different place mentally. I don't know if he is, but I feel like I'm in a different place mentally. How do I break this down to him? You know what I'm saying? What should I do? Should I just be like, forget it, I told you to come here and see him, you ain't gonna come see him, screw you? Or should I just be like, listen, it's not my fault. Like, where do I go with it? Because I feel like this is the last straw, but I feel like it's possible. I feel like it's very possible that we can actually like work something out. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel like it's fair for him to expect me after all this time to send Keyshawn off with him somewhere where I don't know where he's at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think that I should do? I know it was really difficult listening to me talk all that time. I mean, the only thing that's probably keeping you is the fact that I look this gorgeous at 2:17 in the morning. I got off focus there. What should I do? Like, leave a message. What should I do? Should I just be like, screw you? Oh well. You know, I just feel like the misunderstanding is so small. Something has to give and something can be worked out, you know. Okay.